Grandma Victoria doesn't want us, does she, Mama? The 4-year-old's words hit Victoria Sterling like bullets. She stood frozen behind the oak tree, watching her grandson trace letters on David's headstone. Those green eyes, that stubborn cowlick, David's face in miniature. Her knees buckled. 9:47 a.m., Riverside Cemetery. Victoria clutched white roses, $200 each, flown in from Ecuador. The young black woman kneeling at David's grave held gas station carnations, wilted, $3.99. Same headstone, same tears, different worlds. "I failed you again, baby," the woman whispered to the marble. "No money for the good flowers. No money for anything." The boy looked up. Victoria's breath stopped. David's eyes stared back at her. Impossible. But the math worked. David died 4 years ago. This child was 4. The girlfriend Victoria had refused to meet. The mistake she'd told David to handle privately. Her chest burned. "DJ, come here, sweetheart." The woman's voice cracked with exhaustion. "DJ, David Jr." Victoria gripped the tree bark. Her grandson had been 20 feet away for months. Every Tuesday. While she mourned her son, his son mourned his father. Heavy boots approached. Frank Morrison, cemetery groundskeeper. 23 years of buried bitterness in his eyes. "Problem here?" Frank's voice could cut glass. The woman Amara stood fast, protective. "Just visiting. Rich section. Premium plots." Frank circled them like a predator. "You got papers?" His father. "His father?" Frank laughed, ugly and sharp. "Lady, that grave costs more than your annual salary. Try again." DJ pressed against his mother's legs. Victoria remembered David doing the same thing. Same fear. Same instinct to hide. "Please, we're not—" Frank grabbed DJ's arm. Hard. The boy screamed. Amara lunged. "Don't touch my son!" Frank shoved her down. She hit David's headstone. Blood on marble. The carnations scattered like broken dreams. Victoria's phone trembled in her grip. One call could end this. One word from Victoria Sterling and Frank would disappear. But she stood paralyzed. Same as 3 years ago when David begged her to meet someone special. Same prejudice. Same poison. "Mama, why doesn't the mean man like us?" "Some people see skin before hearts, baby." Frank kicked dirt over the scattered flowers. "Next time, bring proof or stay away." Amara gathered DJ close. Blood trickled from her scraped palm, but her dignity stayed intact. She collected each dirty carnation with shaking hands. "Daddy would be proud of how brave you are," she whispered to the headstone. Victoria's heart shattered. This woman loved David, honored his memory, raised his son with strength and grace, while Victoria had spent 3 years drowning in guilt and pride. As they walked away, DJ's voice carried on the wind. "Mama, does Daddy know we visit?" "He knows, sweetheart. He knows." Victoria sank to her knees beside David's grave. Designer coat forgotten in wet grass. The truth crushed her chest like concrete. Her prejudice had stolen 3 years with her grandson. 3 years of birthdays, first steps, bedtime stories, Christmas mornings. 3 years of loving a child who thought his father's family didn't want him. Because they didn't. Because she didn't. The morning sun climbed higher. Mist evaporated. Excuses died. Victoria Sterling controlled $2.3 billion in assets. She could buy governments, topple markets, reshape industries. But she couldn't undo the moment she hung up on David's last phone call. "Mom, you're going to be a grandmother. Handle your mistakes privately," she'd said. Those were her final words to her son. Now his son needed her, and she would not fail again. Victoria stood, brushed dirt from her coat, pulled out her phone. Time to use her power for something that mattered. Next day, 2:15 p.m., Riverside Diner. Grease hung thick in fluorescent air. Victoria sat in corner booth 12, designer sunglasses hiding her study of the woman serving coffee 3 tables over. Amara Brooks. The name tag was crooked. Uniform stained. Hair pulled back in a tired ponytail. David's baby mama. Victoria's daughter-in-law she'd never met. "More coffee?" Amara's voice was professional, worn thin by double shifts and broken dreams. Victoria nodded, watching those gentle hands pour, the same hands that had tenderly placed gas station flowers on David's grave. The lunch rush was ending. Only scattered customers remained, most ignoring the tired waitress who moved between tables like a ghost. Derek Stone emerged from the kitchen. Manager. Mid-40s, soft gut, hard eyes. The kind of man who'd peaked in high school and spent 20 years bitter about it. "Brooks!" His voice cracked like a whip. "Table 6 is still waiting. I'm getting there. Excuses don't pay rent." Derek stepped close. Too close. Maybe single mothers aren't cut out for food service. Amara's jaw tightened, but she said nothing. Professional survival instincts. Victoria's fingers found her phone. Old habit when rage built pressure. The diner door chimed. A small figure in worn sneakers shuffled inside. DJ. Victoria's grandson looked around nervously, backpack sliding off one shoulder. School had just ended. He was 4 too young for kindergarten, probably from some underfunded pre-K program. "Mama?" His voice was small in the busy space. Derek's head snapped around. "What's that kid doing here?" "School pickup fell through," Amara explained quickly. "He'll sit quiet, I promise." "This isn't daycare." Derek's voice rose, drawing stares. "Your problems stay home." DJ shrank behind a chair. Those sterling green eyes, David's eyes, went wide with familiar fear. Victoria gripped her coffee cup until her knuckles went white. "Please, he's sick today. Breathing problems. I can't leave him alone." "Not my problem." Derek grabbed DJ's thin arm. "Kid needs to go." "Don't touch him!" Amara moved fast, protective instincts blazing. Derek shoved her back, hard. She stumbled against table 6, sending water glasses crashing. The diner went quiet. Customers stared. Some pulled out phones. Victoria stood without thinking. "Excuse me," Derek turned, annoyed. "Lady, this doesn't concern—" He stopped. Recognition flickered in his mean little eyes. Victoria Sterling's face had been on magazine covers for 15 years. "Ma'am." His tone shifted, but not his cruelty. Family business. Nothing to worry about. DJ was struggling to breathe. Short, panicked gasps. His lips showed the faintest blue tinge. Hereditary heart condition. It ran in the Sterling bloodline. David had needed surgery at 6. "He needs a hospital," Victoria said quietly. "He needs to leave." Derek's grip tightened on DJ's arm. Both of them. Amara knelt beside her son, checking his pulse. "Baby, look at Mama. Breathe slow." DJ tried to speak but couldn't catch air. Terror flooded his small face. Victoria reached for her phone. "I'm calling 911. "Put that away." Derek stepped between them. "No ambulances, no drama. They leave now, or security handles it." "Let me take them to the hospital," Victoria said. "She leaves, she's fired. Zero tolerance." Derek smiled ugly. "Choose, Brooks. Job or brat." The cruelest choice imaginable. Lose income, lose housing, but watch your child die from lack of medical care. Amara's hands shook as she gathered DJ close. "I choose my son." "Then clear out your locker." Victoria watched her grandson struggle for breath while a small man with smaller power played God with their lives. But she had power too. Real power. While Derek continued his petty tyranny, Victoria stepped outside, speed-dialed her assistant. "Sarah, I need the Sterling Medical helicopter at Riverside Diner. Now." "Ma'am?" "Pediatric cardiac emergency. My grandson." Silence. Then, "Dispatching immediately." Victoria hung up, returned inside. Derek was still tormenting Amara, who was trying to comfort DJ between sobs. "Maybe next time you'll think before having kids you can't afford," Derek sneered. Through the window, Victoria spotted the helicopter approaching, sleek, medical grade with Sterling Medical logos. Derek followed her gaze. His face went pale. "What the hell?" The chopper landed in the parking lot. Medical team rushed inside, professional and swift. "We're here for the cardiac patient," the lead paramedic announced. Derek sputtered. "Nobody called." "I did." Victoria's voice cut through the chaos. Every eye in the diner turned to her. She removed her sunglasses, letting them see exactly who they were dealing with. Derek's mouth fell open. The medical team took DJ gently, efficiently. Amara climbed aboard without hesitation, maternal instincts trumping confusion. As the helicopter lifted off, Victoria turned to Derek. "You're fired. You can't." "I can." She pulled out her phone again. "Sarah, buy this restaurant today." Derek's face went white, then red, then purple. "Ma'am?" Sarah's voice was crisp through speakerphone. "Purchase complete. Riverside Diner is now a Sterling Holdings property." The customers stared. Phones recorded everything. Victoria looked at Derek one last time. "Security will escort you out. Don't come back." She walked toward the door, then paused. "Anyone who wants to keep their job, be here tomorrow. New management starts immediately." Outside, she climbed into her Tesla. Her hands were shaking. 3 years too late, but she was finally using her power to protect her family. St. Mary's Children's Hospital, 4:30 p.m. Victoria found Amara in the cardiac wing waiting room, alone, exhausted, still in her stained uniform. "How is he?" Amara looked up, eyes red with tears and confusion. "They're running tests. Heart defect, they said. Needs surgery." Victoria sat down carefully. "I know, it runs in families." "Families." Amara's voice was barely a whisper. "David had the same condition. Surgery at 6 years old." Understanding dawned slowly. Amara's face went through shock, denial, recognition, then something close to rage. "You're her. You're David's mother." Victoria nodded. "You watched us at the cemetery. You watched that man hurt your grandson. You watched me beg for scraps while your grandchild struggled to breathe." "Yes." "And you did nothing." "Yes." Amara stood abruptly. "Get out." "Please." "Get out!" Amara's voice broke. 3 years, Mrs. Sterling. 3 years I've raised your son's child alone. 3 years I've worked myself to death trying to give him what David's family could provide with pocket change. Victoria remained seated, taking the punishment she deserved. "He asks about you," Amara continued, tears streaming. "His daddy's mama. Wonders why you don't want to meet him. I tell him you're busy, you travel, you have important work." Each word was a knife. Word was, "I never told him the truth. That you hung up on David when he called to say I was pregnant. That you called me a mistake." Victoria's chest felt crushed. "How do you know?" "David told me everything. Every word. Every rejection. He died believing you'd come around when DJ was born." Amara's laugh was bitter. "He was wrong." A doctor approached, Dr. Elizabeth Hayes, according to her coat. Victoria recognized her from the Sterling Medical Board. "Ms. Brooks, the surgery will cost $47,000. Do you have insurance?" Amara's face crumpled. "Medicaid," But they said it's experimental, not covered. Dr. Hayes's voice was gentle but firm. I'm sorry. Victoria stood. Dr. Hayes. The doctor's eyes widened. Mrs. Sterling? I didn't realize. That's my grandson. Whatever he needs, Sterling Medical covers it. Completely. Dr. Hayes nodded quickly. Of course. I'll prep surgery immediately. As the doctor left, Amara turned to Victoria with fire in her eyes. Don't you dare. Don't. Don't you dare swoop in like some savior after years of abandonment. I'm trying to help. You're trying to buy forgiveness. It doesn't work that way. Victoria felt the weight of every mistake pressing down. Then what do you want from me? Amara stepped close enough that Victoria could see David's kindness in her eyes, buried beneath years of struggle and betrayal. I want you to look at DJ, really look at him, and understand what your prejudice cost. Not just money, time, love, family. She turned away. And I want you to live with that knowledge for the rest of your life. The stakes have escalated from personal recognition to life-or-death medical crisis, with Victoria's power finally being unleashed, but perhaps too late to earn forgiveness. Ready for the dig deep section? St. Mary's Hospital, Pediatric Wing, 6:45 p.m. Victoria sat alone in the family consultation room. Mahogany table, leather chairs. The kind of room where life-changing conversations happened behind closed doors. Dr. Hayes had been thorough. DJ's condition was severe but operable. The Sterling Pediatric Cardiac Center, named after David, had pioneered the exact procedure he needed. Irony sharp enough to draw blood. Through the window, she watched Amara hold DJ's hand while he slept. IV tubes snaked from his tiny arm. Monitors beeped steady rhythms. David's son, fighting for life in a wing built to honor David's memory. Victoria closed her eyes. Let the guilt crash over her, like waves. 3 years ago. David's voice through the phone, excited and nervous. Mom, I need to tell you something important. Victoria barely looked up from quarterly reports. Make it quick. Board meeting in 10. Amara's pregnant. You're going to be a grandmother. The pen slipped from Victoria's fingers. What? I know this is sudden, but... Sudden. David, you're 25. You have responsibilities, a future. This is my future, Mom. Amara and our baby. That waitress? Victoria's voice went cold. You're throwing away everything for some girl who serves coffee? Silence. Then David's voice, quiet and hurt. Her name is Amara. She's getting her nursing degree at night. She volunteers at the children's shelter. She makes me want to be better. She makes you want to be poor. Money isn't everything, Mom. Says the boy who's never lived without it. Victoria stood, pacing behind her desk. Handle this privately, quietly. I'll arrange... I'm not handling anything. I'm marrying her. Over my dead body. Then I guess we have nothing left to say. The line went dead. Victoria stared at the phone, called back twice, straight to voicemail. She never tried again. The memory burned like acid. Victoria pressed her palms against her temples. David had tried calling 6 more times that week. She'd sent all to voicemail. Too proud to listen. Too certain she was right. The car accident happened on a Tuesday. David driving to work, planning to propose that weekend. The ring was still in his pocket when they brought him in. Victoria had found it later, going through his things. Simple band, small diamond. Everything she'd taught him to consider beneath their family's standards. Everything Amara deserved. But by then, Victoria was drowning in grief and guilt. Easier to pretend the pregnant girlfriend didn't exist than face her own failures as a mother. She'd hired investigators to find Amara after the funeral. Not to help, to monitor. Make sure she didn't make trouble. Claim inheritance. Embarrass the Sterling name. The reports came monthly. Subject working 3 jobs, living in subsidized housing, child born healthy. No attempts to contact Sterling family. Victoria had read every word, studied photos of DJ's first steps, first birthday, first day of school, watched her grandson grow up through surveillance files like some corporate stalker. She'd known everything and done nothing. A soft knock interrupted her spiral. Dr. Hayes entered with a tablet and careful expression. "The surgery is scheduled for morning. DJ's stable, but—" She paused. "Mrs. Sterling, may I speak candidly?" Victoria nodded. "I've worked with Sterling Medical for 8 years. Since the David Sterling Cardiac Center opened, I know the story." Of course she did. Hospital gossip was more efficient than any news network. "Your son donated his entire trust fund to pediatric cardiac research before he died. Did you know that?" Victoria's throat closed. "No. $1.2 million. He said he wanted to make sure no child died from something so treatable." Dr. Hayes sat across from Victoria. "The surgery DJ needs? David's donation helped develop it." The room spun slightly. David had emptied his inheritance money Victoria had controlled since his birth to fund the very research that would save his son. Even in death, he was still protecting his family. "There's more," Dr. Hayes continued gently. "David named Amara Brooks as his medical proxy in 2021, and as DJ's guardian if anything happened to him." "What does that mean?" "It means David expected you to be part of their lives. He wouldn't have needed a medical proxy for his son if he thought you'd be involved." Victoria's hands shook. "He was protecting them from me, or protecting you from losing them." Dr. Hayes stood. "David loved you, Mrs. Sterling, but he loved them too. He was hoping love would be enough to bridge the gap." After the doctor left, Victoria sat alone with the weight of revelation. David hadn't just donated money, he'd donated hope. His final act wasn't rebellion against his mother's values. It was faith that she'd eventually find them. Hospital cafeteria. 8:20 p.m. Victoria found Amara at a corner table, staring at untouched coffee. Dark circles shadowed her eyes. Exhaustion carved lines around her mouth. "May I sit?" Amara didn't look up, but didn't refuse. Victoria placed a manila folder on the table. "David's medical records, from when he had the same surgery at 6. Amara's fingers traced the folder's edge. "Why now?" "Because you're right. I've been a coward." Victoria's voice was steady, but her hands betrayed her shaking. "I let pride and prejudice poison 3 years we can't get back. DJ asks about you sometimes. Wonders if his daddy's family knows he exists." Each word was a precise cut. "I tell him you're very important people, too busy for little boys like him." Amara finally looked up. "He accepts it because children believe what we tell them about their worth." Victoria's chest cracked open. "What can I do?" "Nothing." Amara's voice was hollow. "You can fix his heart with money and medicine, but you can't fix what your rejection did to mine." "Then tell me how to try." For the first time, something flickered in Amara's eyes. Not forgiveness, not yet, but maybe the faintest possibility of a future where healing could begin. "Start by understanding that your grandson isn't a mistake to be handled privately. He's a miracle who saved me when your son died." Victoria nodded, tears falling freely now. "And understand that if DJ survives this surgery, he deserves better than a grandmother who sees his mother's color before his father's eyes." Outside the window, the helicopter that had saved DJ's life sat silent on the landing pad. Sterling Medical logos gleaming under hospital lights. David's legacy in motion. Love turned to action, even from beyond the grave. Will a billionaire's awakening be enough to heal wounds carved by years of prejudice? When love battles pride, everything hangs in the balance. The emotional core is established. Victoria's devastating realization of what her prejudice cost, while Amara's pain and DJ's critical condition set up the power shift to come. Ready for the power shift section? St. Mary's Hospital, 5:30 a.m. Surgery day arrived gray and cold. Victoria hadn't slept. She'd spent the night reading David's journals, 3 years of entries she'd never seen. Entry March 15th, 2021. Amara makes me laugh until my stomach hurts. Mom would love her if she just gave her a chance. Entry June 3rd, 2021. Baby's due in December. I'm terrified and excited. Amara says I'll be a great dad because I know what not to do. Entry November 28th, 2021. Mom won't take my calls, but someday she'll meet her grandson and realize what she's missing. Love has to win eventually, right? Victoria closed the last journal as Amara approached the surgical waiting area. No makeup, hair pulled back, still beautiful in the way that had captivated David, natural, unguarded, real. Any word? Amara asked. Dr. Hayes said 3 hours minimum. Victoria gestured to the empty chair beside her. Please. Amara sat, but kept distance between them. Professional politeness masking deep hurt. I need to tell you something, Victoria began. About the day David died. I don't. He was driving to see you. Had the ring in his pocket, going to propose after your shift. Amara went very still. The police report said he swerved avoiding a child who ran into traffic. Could have hit her but turned the wheel. Victoria's voice cracked. He died saving someone else's baby. Why are you telling me this? Because you need to know David's last act was protecting a child, same as everything he's done since. Victoria pulled out a legal document, including this. Amara scanned the papers, confusion growing. I don't understand. David changed his will 3 days before he died. Left everything to you and DJ. His trust fund, stock options, life insurance, $1.2 million. That's impossible. You never claimed it because you never knew. I blocked the lawyers from contacting you. Amara's face went white. You what? I buried the will. Told myself you were a gold digger who'd waste David's legacy. Victoria met her eyes. I was wrong about everything. 3 years. Amara's voice was deadly quiet. 3 years I worked 16-hour days. 3 years DJ went without while his inheritance sat in some account. Yes. 3 years you let us struggle while you knew we had money David wanted us to have. Yes. Amara stood abruptly, papers scattering. You stole from your own grandson. Yes. The admission hung between them like a blade. Other families in the waiting room turned to stare. I'm transferring everything today, Victoria continued, with interest. $1.8 million total. I don't want your money. It's not mine. It's David's. It's DJ's. Amara paced to the window, shoulders shaking with rage. You think this fixes anything? No, but it's a start. A start. Amara whirled around. You let us live in poverty while sitting on nearly $2 million. You let me believe David abandoned us financially. Victoria absorbed every word like physical blows. I begged for charity, applied for assistance programs, worked myself sick trying to provide what David had already given us. Tears streamed down Amara's face. Do you understand what that did to my pride? My sense of worth? I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't give me back 3 years of sleepless nights wondering how to pay rent. Dr. Hayes appeared in scrubs, surgical mask hanging around her neck. Both women turned toward her like compass needles finding north. The surgery went perfectly. DJ's awake and asking for his mama. Relief flooded the room. Amara collapsed into the nearest chair. He'll need recovery time, but full healing is expected, The Sterling technique. Dr. Hayes paused, realizing the irony. David's donated research saved his son's life. DJ's recovery room, 6:45 a.m. DJ looked impossibly small in the hospital bed, but his color was better. Those sterling green eyes were alert and curious. "Mama!" He reached for Amara with IV-free arms. "Hey, brave boy. How do you feel?" "Tired, but my chest doesn't hurt anymore." DJ noticed Victoria standing uncertainly by the door. "Who's the pretty lady?" Amara glanced at Victoria, a moment of silent communication passing between them. "DJ, this is Daddy's mama. Your grandmama Victoria." DJ's eyes went wide. "Really? Daddy's mama?" Victoria stepped closer, heart hammering. "Hello, DJ. Are you important like Mama said?" Victoria knelt beside the bed, bringing herself to DJ's eye level. "Not as important as you are. Mama shows me pictures of Daddy. I look like him, huh?" "You look exactly like him." Victoria's voice broke. "He would be so proud of how brave you are." "Mama, can Grandmama Victoria meet Mr. Teddy?" DJ held up a worn stuffed bear. "He's been protecting me." "Of course, sweetheart." As DJ introduced his bear to his grandmother, Amara watched from the doorway. Something shifted in her expression, not forgiveness, but recognition that DJ needed family more than she needed to nurse old wounds. Hospital Administrator's Office, 9:15 a.m. Victoria sat across from Brian Murphy, St. Mary's chief administrator. The man was nervous, which meant he knew why she was there. "Mrs. Sterling, what can we do for—" DJ Brooks was denied surgery coverage yesterday, Medicaid rejection. "Want to explain that?" Murphy shuffled papers. "Experimental procedures aren't always covered. The Sterling Cardiac Center has performed this surgery 847 times. Success rate 98.3%. Hardly experimental. Insurance companies have their own criteria." Victoria leaned forward. "Mr. Murphy, Sterling Medical provides 31% of this hospital's funding. That's $47 million annually." Murphy went pale. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to personally review every Medicaid denial from the past year. Every case involving pediatric cardiac care. Mrs. Sterling, you're going to reverse every rejection that was based on cost rather than medical necessity. That could be hundreds of cases. Thousands, probably." Victoria stood. "And you're going to establish a fund to cover future cases. The David Sterling Memorial Fund for Pediatric Cardiac Care." Murphy's pen shook as he took notes. $50 million endowment. Covers any child who needs cardiac surgery regardless of insurance status. That's incredibly generous." "It's not generous, it's necessary." Victoria moved toward the door. "Oh, and Mr. Murphy? If I hear about one child being denied care because of paperwork or politics, Sterling Medical pulls all funding, permanently." She left him scrambling to reorganize an entire healthcare system. Riverside Diner, 11:30 a.m. Victoria pushed through the door she'd walked through as a customer yesterday. Today, she owned the building. The lunch crowd was smaller, uncertain. Word of yesterday's drama had spread, but people needed to eat. The staff clustered near the kitchen, whispering. Without Derek's tyranny, they seemed lost. "Attention, everyone!" Victoria's voice carried authority without cruelty. "I'm Victoria Sterling. I now own this establishment." Nervous murmurs rippled through the room. "Effective immediately, all employees receive a 40% wage increase, health insurance, 2 weeks paid vacation." The murmurs turned to gasps. "The previous manager's conduct was unacceptable. This business will operate with dignity and respect for all employees and customers." Maria Santos, the oldest waitress, stepped forward. "Ma'am, what about Amara? Derek fired her yesterday." Amara Brooks is welcome back any time, as assistant manager. More gasps. In this neighborhood, assistant manager was a life-changing promotion. Questions. A young cook raised his hand. You're really giving us health insurance? Full coverage, dental, vision, starting today. Why? Maria asked. You don't even know us. Victoria looked around the room. Immigrant workers, single mothers, people grinding through multiple jobs to survive. People like Amara had been forced to become. Because someone I loved very much believed everyone deserves dignity at work. I'm finally listening to him. DJ's room, 2:45 p.m. Victoria returned to find DJ coloring in a new book-expensive art supplies that hadn't been there that morning. Did you bring these? She asked Amara. DJ's trust fund came through. Lawyer delivered papers an hour ago. Amara's voice was carefully neutral. $1.8 million, like you said. It's his money. I know. Amara sat beside DJ's bed. I also know you could have kept hiding it forever. No one would have questioned you. David would have questioned me. DJ looked up from his coloring. Grandmama Victoria, do you want to help me draw Daddy? Victoria's throat closed. I'd love that. As they colored together, DJ directing with 4-year-old authority Amara made a decision. Victoria. It was the first time she'd used the name instead of Mrs. Sterling. I'm not ready to forgive you. I may never be ready. Victoria nodded, not looking up from the crayon drawing. But DJ deserves to know his father's family. And you deserve to know David's son. What are you saying? I'm saying, maybe we can figure out how to be a family. Not the family we would have been if you'd made better choices 3 years ago, but the family we can be starting now. DJ beamed. We're gonna be a real family? We're going to try, baby. Victoria set down her crayon, tears blurring her vision. Are you sure? David loved us both. He'd want us to love each other. Amara's smile was small but real. It might take a while to get there, but we can start with respect. I can work with respect. DJ held up his drawing 3 stick figures holding hands in front of a big house. This is us! Mama, Daddy in heaven, me, and Grandmama Victoria. Victoria studied the picture, memorizing every crooked line. It's perfect, DJ. Outside, news vans were gathering. Word was spreading about Victoria Sterling's dramatic day, the restaurant purchase, the hospital fund, the revelation of a secret grandson. But inside room 314, 3 generations of a broken family were learning how to heal. The power had shifted. Not just money and influence, but something deeper. The power of love over pride. The power of humility over prejudice. The power of second chances over perfect first impressions. Victoria has used her power to systemically address the injustices while beginning the delicate process of family reconciliation. The stakes have shifted from crisis to healing. 6 weeks later, Sterling Medical Foundation headquarters. The press conference room buzzed with reporters, cameras, and the kind of energy that accompanied major announcements. Victoria stood at the podium, but she wasn't alone. Amara sat in the front row, professional in a new navy suit. DJ, fully recovered, swung his legs from a chair beside her. His surgical scar had healed to a thin line, barely visible proof of how close they'd come to losing him. Ladies and gentlemen, Victoria began. 6 weeks ago, my grandson nearly died from a heart condition that runs in our family. He was denied coverage because his mother works 3 jobs instead of 1 high-paying career. Cameras flashed. Reporters scribbled notes. Today, I'm announcing the David Sterling Foundation for Healthcare Equity, $50 million dedicated to ensuring no child faces medical rationing based on their family's economic status. Applause rippled through the room. Victoria gestured to Amara. The foundation's executive director is Amara Brooks. She understands the barriers facing working families because she's lived them. Amara approached the microphone with quiet confidence. 6 weeks of financial security had restored the strength that poverty had worn away. This foundation isn't charity, Amara said clearly. It's justice. Every child deserves the same medical care, regardless of their zip code or their parents' bank account. A reporter raised her hand. Ms. Brooks, is it true you and Mrs. Sterling had no relationship before your son's medical crisis? Mrs. Sterling and I have had complicated family dynamics, but we've learned that children's needs matter more than adults' pride. What about Derek Stone, the restaurant manager who was terminated? Victoria returned to the microphone. Mr. Stone is facing federal civil rights charges. The Department of Justice takes workplace discrimination seriously, especially when it endangers children. Later that day, Riverside Community Center. The room was packed beyond capacity. Parents filled folding chairs, lined walls, sat on the floor. Most were Black and Latino families from the neighborhood around the old diner. Victoria had requested this meeting, not as a billionaire dispensing charity, but as a community member asking for guidance. How many of you have been denied medical care for your children? She asked. Nearly every hand went up. How many have been told a procedure was experimental when it was really just expensive? More hands, murmurs of recognition. How many have been treated differently at hospitals based on your appearance or address? The room erupted in voices. Stories poured out, insurance denials, condescending doctors, children suffering while bureaucrats played games with their lives. DJ sat in Amara's lap, absorbing the pain in adult voices. These were his neighbors. Their children were his future classmates. This stops now, Victoria said simply. Mrs. Rodriguez, whose daughter had been denied asthma treatment, stood up. You're rich and white, lady. Easy to make promises, harder to keep them when cameras stop rolling. You're right to be skeptical, Victoria admitted. I've been part of the problem longer than I've been part of the solution. So why should we trust you? Victoria looked at DJ, then back at the crowd. Because my grandson's life depends on the same system your children face. If I don't fix it, I fail him too. The room stayed quiet, processing. But more than that, Victoria continued, because Amara Brooks is watching me, and she won't let me break promises to children. Amara squeezed DJ closer. That's right. I won't. 3 months later, the new Riverside restaurant. The grand reopening drew lines around the block. The renovated space gleamed with fresh paint, modern equipment, and something that had been missing before dignity. Maria Santos, now general manager, cut the ribbon alongside Amara, who'd returned as community liaison. The staff wore crisp uniforms with name tags that said team member instead of just first names. Victoria watched from the back, letting the real heroes have the spotlight. DJ ran between tables, greeting regular customers like old friends. His laughter filled spaces where fear used to live. He's happy here, Amara said, joining Victoria. Children should feel safe everywhere they go. You've changed, you know. Amara's voice held warmth instead of wariness. David would be proud. I'm not doing this for David's approval. I'm doing it because it's right. I know. That's why he'd be proud. A news crew interviewed customers about the transformation. The story was spreading how one family's medical crisis had sparked community-wide change. Mrs. Sterling, a reporter called out. Critics say you're just buying good publicity. How do you respond? Victoria considered the question. Good publicity would be easier to buy and cheaper to maintain. This is harder, but it's what my son believed in, and it's what my grandson deserves to inherit. That evening, David's grave. The three of them came together now. Weekly visits, but not tragic anymore. Celebratory. Updates for a father who was missing everything but somehow still guiding his family's choices. DJ placed fresh flowers, expensive ones now, but he still preferred gas station carnations because Daddy likes the colors better. Tell Daddy about the foundation, DJ instructed Victoria. Your daddy's foundation helped 12 children this week, Victoria said to the headstone. Amara made sure their families felt respected, not pitied. Tell him about the restaurant. Maria got promoted again. She's thinking about opening a second location. DJ nodded seriously, then whispered his own secret to the marble. Victoria couldn't hear the words, but she caught his mother's name and something about happy now. Amara knelt beside the grave. David, your son is brave and kind and funny, just like you were. And your mother, she glanced at Victoria, your mother is learning to see hearts instead of skin color. As they walked back to the car, Victoria's Tesla replaced with a practical SUV that fit car seats, DJ reached for both women's hands. Mama, do you think Daddy knows we're friends now? I think he knows, baby. Good. 'Cause I love both my mamas. Victoria's step faltered. She looked at Amara, who nodded permission. I love you too, DJ. More than all the money in the world. And for the first time in 3 years, that felt like enough. Behind them, David's grave stood peaceful in evening light. The inscription below his name had been changed. Beloved son, father, and bridge builder. His love lives on. When power serves love instead of pride, even the deepest wounds can heal. But true transformation requires more than money. It demands the courage to change. Have you ever witnessed discrimination that wealth or power could have stopped? Share your story in the comments below. Have you seen families torn apart by prejudice, then healed by love? We want to hear from you. If this story touched your heart, smash that like button and subscribe to Beat Stories for more real-life stories that prove love conquers all. Ring the notification bell so you never miss these powerful Black stories and touching stories that remind us what really matters. Share this video with someone who needs to remember that it's never too late to choose love over pride. And remember, in a world full of division, be the bridge, be the change, be the love you wish to see. Until next time, keep believing that every heart can heal. Yay.
You've seen the story. Now what will you do with it? At Beat Stories, we believe reflection is good, but action is better. Subscribe, share, speak, because awareness is only the first step.